Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to, depending on however you may look at your clock or wherever you may live, this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yeah, they really do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this middle of the night or early morning bonus upload, shall we? All right, today I have some very terrifying subscriber submissions with pictures to go along with their encounters. And they are definitely some pretty freaky looking pictures, if I do say so myself. Let's get into them right now. Today's first subscriber submission. This is known as the DeRitter Roadkill. It is one of several pictures that a lady who found it took of this creature in 1996. She was using a decent enough camera, and the pics have never been called a hoax by anyone who has studied them. Some think it is a rougarou, which, as you know, is just another name given for a dogman or werewolf species found in Louisiana. But those who have actually seen a dogman and or werewolf in flesh within a close enough distance to be able to distinguish its characteristics such as size, facial features, hand, foot, claw appearances, know immediately upon looking at this critter that it is not a dogman or a werewolf juvenile, and definitely not an adult. I have never seen a devil monkey up close in person, but an uncle of mine who served in Vietnam as a Green Beret and who is an avid hunter has seen them before while hunting, and saw a similar beast to the devil monkey while serving in Nam. This same uncle who has trained me and got me ready for, as well as enlisted me in various schools, camps I went through to learn about combat, field survival, guerrilla warfare, etc. He and I have both had encounters with a dogman, but only he has had any encounter with a devil monkey. He said they remind him of a North American baboon with no war paint on their face. He also said, and I quote, "They are ferocious and vicious, and will not hesitate to launch coordinated and deadly attacks as a unit on anyone or anything that strays into their home turf, and doesn't leave with the first warning, which they don't always give." He said he has shot 3 of them on a hunt when they charged him, and after shooting them, he said he saw and heard more than 4 others run away screaming and growling. He said the 3 he shot had to weigh more than 150 pounds each, and he was too deep in the bush to carry one out. This was long before cell phones, so he has no pics to share, only his stories. Anyways, I thought you may find this story about the DeRitter Roadkill to be interesting, and may want to share it with your listeners at some point. Maybe if you get some time we could talk, and I will fill you in on my dogman and alien/UFO encounters I've had here in northeast Oklahoma. My first of both, coincidentally, happened when I was 6, and I had additional encounters with both a few more times as I got older. My first encounter with a dogman, I was on my bicycle and was chased by a tan, black, gray dogman whose head got less than a foot from me as it chased me and a buddy. out of the strip pits in our area. We lived in where we used to ride our bikes and hang out during summer and after school. So I've got this guy's phone number. I'm going to see if he will be interested in coming on, sharing his Dogman and other encounters with us. Also, if he'd be interested in sharing what his uncle told him about the devil monkey. I've always been fascinated with those that cryptid. You don't hear too much about them. I've always thought it was a Dogman of some sort, but we don't have that much evidence of them. So to hear a first-hand encounter from a relative would be pretty decent. So moving on. Today's second encounter comes to us from Cape May, New Jersey. So to begin with, this experience happened back in 2018. I arrived in this small rural town near Cape May. The company I was working for at the time was sending me out to go door to door, advertising cable and Wi-Fi they wanted me to sell. I was getting weird vibes all throughout the day, as the town itself was very small and a bit creepy, with people staring at me or giving me the cold shoulder the entire day. It seemed like a lot of the town folk that I encountered that day were on edge, and it was a weird, tense atmosphere that I just shrugged off, as people are weird all the time. I continued doing my job, chugging a Red Bull to keep on going, which did not affect me at all, surprisingly. Besides the weird atmosphere, the scenery was actually quite pretty once you got off the main road. I had to stop at different streets, and some were in the woods on long and seemingly beautiful endless roads. It was quite scenic. Just before sunset, I was scheduled to visit a few houses on a small peninsula. To get to this peninsula, you had to go down a very long road, past a summer camp area, past a trailer park, past the woods, and then you finally find yourself in a small open area with a bay marsh, a couple of small, expensive houses, and shore access. The houses were so close to the water it seemed to be a code violation, but I'm sure they were built to withstand storms since they look so expensive. Every house had its own theme, and the area was mostly deserted. Only one house had someone inside whom I'd talked to after knocking on his door. I was so distracted looking at the houses and the scenery that I didn't notice how fast the sunset was approaching. I came to the realization that I should start heading back to avoid being alone on the long deserted pathway in the woods. As a smaller female, I'm never comfortable after dark in isolated places, especially without cell service. I was making my way down the path. So far, so good, as it wasn't completely dark yet. As I approached a wooded area of the road, I was walking a bit faster since there were no streetlights and the sunlight was rapidly disappearing. As I walked at a decent fast pace, I noticed something. The woods were eerily quiet. All the life that I was hearing before seemed to be gone. No crickets, no birds, just pure silence. I stopped in my tracks and got chills down my spine as I felt the feeling that I was being watched. I looked around the dark woods for any sudden movements, and then, like clockwork, something up ahead made its way out of the tree line. It looked to be some type of large animal. My brain went into overdrive, analyzing whatever this animal was. Was it a bear? A dog? No, it looked like a large dog, but dogs don't get that big. Though I was intimidated by its large size, whatever it was had not noticed me. Even though I was scared, I also didn't want to walk back and go into that one man's house. As a woman, I'd rather take my chances with a wild animal than be alone with a man I don't know in a deserted holiday neighborhood. Suddenly, as I was thinking this, the large animal in the distance had finally noticed my presence. It was observing me, not entirely sure of what to do with me. There wasn't enough light anymore for me to see this animal's face, but I felt unusually frightened. Whatever I was looking at was definitely too big to be a black bear. with a shoulder height at least 5 feet on all fours, which is comparable to the size of a brown bear. The mass of this creature was extensive, as the outline of what I could see looked like a wolf on steroids. It was very muscular. I also noticed that the outline of its face was very similar to that of a German shepherd or a wolf. It had perked ears and a long snout. In the heat of the moment, I could only hear the sound of my heart palpitating as fear and adrenaline started to crawl its way into my bloodstream. It felt as if time had stood still. Then it dawned on me. What I was looking at was not a normal animal, and it was simply too big to be any animal that I could recognize from New Jersey's catalog of fauna. And if it wanted to attack me, I would be powerless against it. It was simply far too big. Though, to calm myself down, I threw out the idea that this creature was out of the ordinary because I felt like this could be rationalized somehow. I made my brain go back to the idea of this thing maybe being a large dog or a coyote. I also did not believe in cryptids at the time and was completely unaware of what size coyotes are supposed to be. So I made a quick decision. Realizing that this could very well be a life or death situation, I came to the conclusion that this very large dog-like creature was probably a skittish coyote that I could scare off, at least temporarily, to calm my nerves down. What other choice did I have? The longer I kept standing there, the more aggressive I might come across to this animal, and I didn't want it to get territorial or get the idea that I was easy prey. So I decided I would make the most hideous, loud, confusing, and startling scream howl I could muster and just sprint the rest of the way. After screeching this hideous sound out of my body as hard as I could, the animal quickly changed its body language to defensive, but then it quickly changed its mind to deciding it wasn't worth a fight, as it ran a decent distance into the woods, not too far though. I decided to sprint as fast as I could past the area and beyond. I sprinted until I reached the end of the road and noticed there was a summer camp area. With streetlights near me, I rested on top of a table, out of breath and feeling like my heart was pounding out of my chest. However, I was still pretty shaken up, and I still felt like I was being watched. I kept my eyes on the tree line. My eyes were darting around, looking for any sign of this creature still being around. Once I felt the coast was clear, I located the next house I was scheduled to visit, and I quickly made my way over. I met a nice family who ended up buying cable from me, and I told them what had happened to me that night and how I was treated by the locals. The lady of the family, whom I presumed to be the mom, said, "I don't know why they sent you out here alone. These woods are dangerous after dark, and there are creepy people who live around here." The impression she was giving me was that there were animal encounters she couldn't explain, and that there were ex-cons in the area, and people who should have been arrested but have not been. She was equally concerned about the people, as she was the animals around this place. This gave me goosebumps. How many times today could my life have been taken? They were extremely concerned for my safety and told me to contact my team leader so I could get picked up. They said they didn't want me to go outside again and that I should call it quits for the night and not make any other homes. Till this day, I still have no idea what that creature I had encountered was. There are strange things in the woods, things people don't speak about or cover up. I feel like the townfolk of that town knew something about what I encountered. So weird creatures I encountered in those woods. Let's never meet again. Today's third encounter is a subscriber submission with photographs of the cryptid detailed in this encounter. Let's get into it. Good morning, Mr. Nadolny. I really enjoy your show and want to say thank you very much for the time and effort you put into educating the public about cryptids. The public has a right to know about these creatures and must be informed as to their existence, so individuals can take the necessary precautions in protecting themselves while out in the forest. On the other end of the coin, cryptids are part of fauna and need to be protected. They can tell us a lot about biology, evolution, and the world where we live. I recently had a brief sighting of 2 Sasquatch creatures in London, Kentucky. The Appalachian Mountains seem to have a large number of cryptid encounters. I suspect many cryptid encounters go unreported for fear of the witness being ridiculed or labeled a wackadoodle. But at the end of the day, I believe truth is the best interest for anyone that serves us best. Below is a short write-up of a recent encounter I had. I was very fortunate to have been able to get thermal pictures of these creatures and have them attached to this message. I know it is rare to get a photo exist evidence of a cryptid encounter, but please feel free to share with your audience. Once again, thank you and have a great day. GT. Sighting on Saturday, June 11th, 2022 at 10:50 a.m. Was hiking north on Falls City Road in London, Kentucky, and made a left onto Fish Trap Road and traveled some 100 feet. I use a thermal imager to scan the woods while out hiking, and at the intersection of these 2 primitive roads, I saw 2 very large eyes partially hidden between a log with foliage all around it, and looked up at my direction on the ridgeline. It appears this creature may have been lying on the ground with its front side down. The forest was still very cool at this time in the morning. I stopped and watched these eyes for some 8 to 10 seconds. Both eyes blinked once during this short period of time. Then to the left of these eyes pops out another set, and the thermal shows the second creature having its eyes and mouth open. You can see the second creature is leaning up against a tree, dark black color, and its hair is slightly warmer, light gray color, than the tree and foliage in front of it. This temperature difference allows you to see a rough outline of the second creature's head, right shoulder, and right leg going to the ground. The second creature retreated back into the forest after being visible for some 5 to 7 seconds, and then the first creature disappeared immediately after. Neither creature made any noises during the time they were visible or thereafter. My hiking buddy and I were talking and pointing at both of them. I believe they figured out that they had been seen and opted to retreat back into the forest. The creatures were extremely well camouflaged. We tried seeing them without the use of the thermal device on many times with no luck. Returned to the sighting location on the following Saturday to get measurements. I'm 5'11" tall and went to the exact spot the second creature was standing behind the tree and placed the thermal in the same spot the sighting pictures were taken. The second creature was much taller than myself. I estimate its height to be anywhere between 7.5 to 8 feet in height. Saturday, June 11th, 2022 is the same day the Kentucky Warhammer Ultra Endurance race was held. These 2 creatures were less than 30 yards from the Schledewee Trace Trail, and are guessing runners traveling through the National Forest may have gotten their attention. And I am going to email this guy and see if he'd like to come and share this encounter with us verbally, and maybe talk about these pictures as well. So let's get on to the next encounter. Today's 4th encounter. In 1977, in the Madeira community of Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, I was a young teen at the time. We lived in a house in the heavily forested hills above Madeira. There were very few residences in the neighborhood. The location was incredibly isolated. My granddad would frequently go on patrols with the local officer who worked for the Game Commission. I bring this up because of his reaction when we had our encounter, which is the reason why I'm bringing this up. He's a large man, and it took a lot to shake his confidence. When my grandpa would walk outdoors at night with nothing but a pitchfork to frighten away a bear, we would often just shake our heads at him. He was familiar with the local wildlife, understood their routines, and could predict weather, and so on. On one particular evening, we were awakened by a loud ruckus that took place close to our front porch. We had outdoor cats who liked to hang out on the porch, and if a raccoon or other animal came near the house, they would run away. The noise they made as they dispersed was rather loud, which is why we were awoken by it. I can still hear my grandfather give one of his signature irritated sighs because he was forced to get up and check it out. We were all listening closely to the sound of the door being closed. Instead, we heard our grandfather let out a loud roar. This sent everyone scurrying for the stairs. He was keeping his distance from the entrance while holding a rifle in his hand. The expression on his face might best be described as fearful. As I've already said, nothing seemed to frighten my granddad. So the sight of that expression on his face caused all of us to stand there feeling unsure. This creature, which was outside on our porch, was gazing straight back at us, displayed absolutely no fear at all. In fact, I recall having the thought that it was furious, but upon closer inspection, it merely seems cruel. It was definitely not a dog, but rather a canine of some sort. It had the appearance of a hyena from the front shoulders all the way to its head, but the rear end was much smaller than the front shoulders and head. I don't think I ever noticed there was a tail there. The fur had an unusual appearance that was patchy and shaggy all throughout. It simply didn't look like fur. It was difficult to describe. The nose was neither very long nor very narrow. Rather, it was short and somewhat large. The whole of the body was enormous. It was nearly as wide as our porch, from the rear of its head to the front of its body. Taking this into account, it would be at least 7 feet long. It stood there staring at us, then turned and looked toward our barn, then back at us again. After that, it went a few steps very slowly before turning and running away. It happened so quickly, all I could see was a smear of color, and then it was gone. We all stood there for a moment before our mom asked our dad what was going on, at which point our dad shouted for us to all hurry up and go upstairs. He didn't even bother to go outside and check on the animals, since he remained awake the rest of the night. Strangely enough, we never brought it up into conversation. After that, nobody ever mentioned it again. It was really a special place to live, and I was fortunate enough to spend the most of my life there. But I was relieved to leave the area when I became older, since many other occurrences that took place there were puzzling to me and could not be explained. And tonight's final encounter, at the end I'm going to share with you a news article from NBC about an attack that happened in the same location this next encounter happened. September 6th, 2012. A friend and I were hiking in the Cibola National Forest in a canyon area. We decided to take a break and have a rest. It was 11:30. We're familiar with the area. We've hiked here on many occasions. We're also familiar with the wildlife, and there have been bear warnings published for the park recently. I had a brief encounter with a black bear several years ago. There are also mountain lion sightings reported. As we sat there, I noticed something moving in the brush to my right. It wasn't large, so I was sure it wasn't a bear, but I was concerned that it may be a mountain lion. All of a sudden, this dark gray, fur-covered thing sprang out of the brush, snarling and growling. It kind of reminded me of a wolverine, but it was much bigger. I'd say 100+ pounds and higher in stature. It stood there with its mouth wide open, displaying many long, jagged teeth. I picked up a rock just in case this creature decided to charge. After a standoff for 30 seconds, it quickly pivoted and ran back to the brush. I could hear it move away from us. We decided to backtrack to our truck and leave as soon as possible. My neighbor works at the Albuquerque Biopark and hikes all over the Southwest. I asked him if he's ever encountered anything or heard what we encountered. He said that I must have misidentified a small bear. I can't find anyone locally who can tell me what this thing was. May 18th, 2008. A 5-year-old boy hiking with his family near Sandia Peak, New Mexico, was survived an attack from an unidentified species of large animal. A spokesperson from the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish said Sunday, May 18, 2008. Sheriff Darren White said the family was hiking near the popular Balsam Glade area in the Sandia Mountains when a boy ran ahead of his parents. It happened on the east side of the Sandia Mountains at around 7 p.m. Saturday. The Sheriff's Department report identified the boy as Jose Salazar Jr. of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The boy's parents saw the animal emerge from the brush and start dragging away their child, White said. The father then chased the animal, which let go of his son. White said the animal was a mountain lion, but Ross Morgan, the spokesperson from Game and Fish, said dogs trained to track mountain lions picked up no scent in the area Saturday night or Sunday. Officials said they don't know what kind of animal attacked the boy. They are looking at tracks in the area to find out if it was a cougar, mountain lion, or bear. The animal had the kid and was dragging him down the side of the hill. When the father jumped over there, the animal ran off, said Ross Morgan, who works for the Department of Game and Fish. The dad described it as being short, stocky, dark brown, Morgan said. Morgan said hikers in the area Sunday were told of the attack, but the news did not deter them from hiking. The Department of Game and Fish is warning people to be careful in the mountains. Some people visiting the mountains on Sunday said they were aware of the dangers and are prepared for what could come their way. We have to expect that we are going to come across animals, visitor Rich Weiner said. We are in their habitat. But others who spend time in the Sandia Mountains, like David Zapelski, said the news of the attack has shaken him up. It's shocking and kind of scary. We are making sure we are keeping track where everyone is and looking around. Officials said everyone visiting the mountain should be extra careful so they do not become the next victim. The boy suffered puncture wounds, bite marks, to his head, neck, and back. He was in serious condition at the University of New Mexico Hospital on Saturday, White said. A hospital spokeswoman said Sunday the family declined to make the boy's condition public. He's currently in the intensive care unit at the University of Mexico Hospital. May 19, 2008, 3:42 p.m. NBC. A large animal attacked a 5-year-old boy while hiking with his family, seriously injuring him with puncture wounds to the head, neck, and back, authorities said. Jose Salazar Jr. was hiking near Sandia Peak, east of Albuquerque, and had run ahead of his parents on Saturday evening when they heard a scream. Bernalillo County Sheriff Darren White said the boy's parents, Jose and Charlotte Salazar, saw an animal emerge from the brush and start dragging their son, White said. The father tried to jump on the animal's back, and it let go of the boy and fled. The State Game and Fish Department said to the news release Monday that the child and his father identified the animal as a mountain lion from pictures shown to them. Game and Fish spokesperson Ross Morgan, however, said dogs trained to track mountain lions picked up no scent in the area Saturday night or Sunday. The dogs were brought in again on Monday. We are not going to rule out small bear, cougar, or bobcat at this point, Morgan said. The U.S. Forest Service closed down Balsam Glade Trail and campground while the investigation continues. The area is known to have mountain lions, bobcats, bears, coyote, and feral dog. The boy was hospitalized in serious condition Saturday, White spoke. On Monday, the Game and Fish Department said the child was in satisfactory condition. A hospital spokeswoman said Monday the family declined to make their boy's condition public. Attacks by bear, mountain lion on humans are rare. In New Mexico, a mountain lion attacked and killed an 8-year-old boy in 1974. In Espanola, a bear killed a 93-year-old Mora County woman in her home August 2001. And that, folks, was this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Thank you for supporting the channel, guys. Your support is what helps the channel to continue to grow and go. And honestly, what makes this channel a place where people can share their experiences, judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect that they deserve. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.